Yo, what is good, everybody? I Need a Sports Podcast back in action. Today, it's just me, Bryce, but I do have a special guest with me. My guy, Erik of eTalk 21 Sports is back for another podcast. I don't think we've had Erik on, and it's been quite a couple months, I think, since back during football season. Now we're getting to April, NBA regular season wrapping up, about to head into the NBA playoffs. So here today to talk a little bit of NBA, talk about some trade rumors, possible trade destinations, some of the latest headlines of the league today. What's up, Erik? How you been?
I've been good, man. How about you? You're down in H-Town, dude. Big comeback by your boys last night. Place is probably
Um, man,
probably
the
rocking,
city,
doing it.
the city is going crazy. I was asking some friends because I don't even know. Like the only thing I've ever seen in Houston, like win championship wise, is the Astros. I was like, does the city have like a parade if UH wins something? Like if they win the national championship, is there a city parade for that? Like I truly have no idea. Something we've never experienced for any sports down here, but that was an amazing comeback. I always really wonder like if Duke, when it came down to it, like in some crunch situations, if they could, perform at that level. Because I don't know if you remember at the start of the year, they had a couple close games versus Arizona. I know versus my Kansas squad where they come down to the last possession and Cooper Flag kind of, mess up a bit here or there. And hey, they had a chance. Cooper got a great look last night and he just failed to hit it. So
They weren't
Houston moves
battle
on.
tested. They had
They
been
weren't.
battle tested, and it kind of showed. But we're not here to call college hoops. My bad for bringing it up, dude.
Oh no,
A
we're
lot of
not. We're
stuff
not.
going on in the association, dude. Really
Yes, sir.
interested to hear your takes. One thing that kind of stood out to me is Memphis firing Jenkins. Now I know people are going to say there's going to be stuff behind the scenes. Maybe there's something with him or Ja. But the guy that they brought in, whose name I cannot effing pronounce, from Paris basketball, he was in charge of their offense. Their offense had looking a lot better, a lot more screen action, a lot more movement. The more I think about it, I think they just did it because they saw how good the offense was, and they didn't want another team to come in and poach him for next year. So they're just getting ahead of the curve because that's the intern. That's who took over, and I cannot pronounce the guy's game at all. And I think
Oh,
they're just trying to get ahead of the 8 ball.
see, I didn't even know that was a possibility. I thought it was something that was something behind closed doors, but that's why I was so confused because I was like, if say you wanted to fire him, why at this point when you're literally a couple weeks away from the playoffs? Memphis is, I mean, there's I think statistically they still could possibly fall out of the play-in at this point, but that's highly unlikely. They're a team that's going to be in the playoffs. That just seemed very weird to me to completely just fire your head coach and go into the playoffs with that kind of
He
turmoil. I
was
didn't know what was kind of brewing in the locker room.
oh dude, I can't even pronounce this. Inicio Tomas Inicio. Like he
Mm.
was one of the highest. He was the highest paid EuroLeague coach, and they played a pretty penny for him to come over here. So part of me thinks that's kind of why they did it. Like it's based on 3-point shooting and just getting offensive rebounds. So I don't know. I think they're doing it to get ahead of the 8 ball because we've seen, like, hypothetically, I don't know a team off the top of my head. Let's just say what's a young team off the top of your head? The Bulls.
Uh,
Let's say the Bulls make a change. Get rid of Donovan. Donovan decides he wants to go back to college or whatever. Donovan retires, whatever. They get this guy comes in here, puts Giddey and all those young pieces the Bulls have, and then they have a Pistons type thing when Bickerstaff came there. I think that the Grizzlies realize Jenkins can only take us so far. This guy has come in, our offenses look better. Why not give him the keys and see what we got?
hmm, that's fair. That's fair. I guess. Do you think though, as constructively built right now, that the coaching change is enough, or the Grizzlies have to add something somewhere else, or maybe take something away to gain something different? Because I know he's had a pretty decent year but I know you're a Michigan State guy. I've never been a big fan of Jaren Jackson Jr. I just like
They
a
think
big
he walks on water. Like they think he can do no wrong. They
yeah.
think JJ walks on water, and I love him. I love the kid. He plays defense. He can score, but it gets to the thing where you can't win if he's your one.
Yeah.
If he's your two, you can win, but you cannot win with him being your one. And then I think it kind of comes down to, I think you're going to win with Bane being your three, but will Bane accept being a three? And then you need a one, but I don't know if you can trust Ja Morant.
Definitely can at this point. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the off the court stuff. As we know, he's got, been in the headlines for the gun celebrations again this week. But I just I think for one, obviously he got derailed a bit because he had to sit with the suspension for the off the court issues. And then when he came back, he immediately got hurt as he was trying to, kind of getting back in the groove. So he essentially missed like a year and a half of basketball. And then he's been out the lineup this year. And is like if you go back and look, it was 2 years ago when they first, came up on the scene and they were, top of the West. Like if you would take that team and then project like, okay, where do you see them in 2 years? You would think they'd probably be in position where you see like OKC right now, where Ja Morant is nearing face of the league, MVP talks, and it just got completely derailed. His game hasn't really progressed. Not saying he isn't a great player, but he still doesn't have a consistent outside shot. He's still a little, Russell Westbrook-ish with the slashing. He can be out of control at times. It's just like you said, Jaren Jackson can't do no wrong, but he's not that great. Desmond Bane, I mean, he's gonna have to be your three option, but sometimes he doesn't want to be a three option. He wants to be the number one option. It just hasn't come to fruition like you would have thought a couple years ago, projecting the future for this team. And then now you have the head coaching change. Now I think probably do have to explore some other options with the team. And you just talked about one, off camera. But what is a possible route you think they could take moving forward?
Hear me out. Ja Morant to the Magic. Magic send back a couple first. Jet Howard, Isaac. Try to keep Franz and Bianco. How do you say his name?
Bancaro.
Try to keep Bancaro and Wagner and get Moran in there. Throw in some first. Jet Howard. Even send Suggs back.
I was just about to say, would you sit? I feel like you probably have to send Jalen Suggs because I don't think
send Suggs back there. Because I think that would work. Now the thing with Memphis is Memphis historically hasn't pulled the trigger trading draft picks because they always feel they can get someone in the draft because they have such a good history of drafting. And I think that kind of bit them in the butt when you look at how this team, you mentioned it that year when they were the 2 seed, they lost the Warriors. They really didn't add any pieces, got a lot of injuries, couldn't get back on it. The whole Morant thing happened. I think if they do make this trade, they're going to have to be a little bit active. Now you got Suggs. Now you got Bane. Now you got Jackson. So you have a good point. Decent off guard. Jackson, who I like ceiling. I think his best he will ever be is a step below what AD is. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you still don't have a guy. You know what I mean? Like you still kind of need like a dude, if that makes sense. And I don't think that, I think it's one thing you have to do because I think this Ja Morant thing has kind of run its course. And we need to remember Morant's the only guy that I can remember has agitated both LeBron and Curry in the playoffs. So, I don't know. Just an interesting thought. And the Magic, that's a team that could use someone like him.
So if they get Ja Morant, the Magic, do you think that instantly bolsters them to top 3 in the East? I know obviously the other teams can make changes as well, but if you just take current rosters as of today for all the other Eastern teams and add Ja Morant to the Magic, where do you think they fall in the East.
I think they're right up. I think they're obviously a step below. I think they're right in there with the Knicks. Because I'll be honest, like I really don't like this Knicks team at all.
Yeah, I don't like him. I don't know where you even go if you're a New York fan from this. Because I was listening to NBA radio earlier or some podcast on YouTube, and I totally forgot. They gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges.
Who
And
can't
just
shoot
like
now?
exactly. I'm like, obviously, then they make the blockbuster trade for Cat. And it's like that hasn't necessarily panned out. Cat's been good, but it's not
I
what you
hate Cat.
necessarily wanted.
I hate Cat.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not a Cat fan, as you know, either.
I hate Cat. Like he's a great player. You know, he went through a lot off the court. You know, more power to him for fighting through that. Respect him for that. Respect him for making it to the league. But I just would have kept Dante. I don't think him coming here is going to elevate you any more than what you were. And all the constant whining. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like and you got Bridges who can't shoot, Hart who's just out of control all the time. And honestly, Brunson is the number one, which is great. I love Jalen Brunson. He grew up around here where I am. But can you win with your one being that small? Because the only 2 teams that have Curry with the Warriors and Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 teams that were able to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll say this too. If he ever is to get over that hump like those 2, it won't be with Thibodeau as a coach. Because that's the other thing. Thibodeau's playing all these guys 35 plus minutes a game. Yeah. It's like they're gonna have no gas come playoff time, and let it be a long series where they have to go 6 or 7 games, as you seen last year when they ran into the Pacers and that went to 7. By the time they got to game 7, the Knicks roster was hanging on by a thread. They had like 8 players that were really in rotation available, and they couldn't keep up. And they're on that path kind of again this year. So
I was looking at the Eastern. So I'm gonna pull up the Eastern Conference. So this is off script, and I apologize for that. Eastern Conference standings. Let's just kind of go through them a little bit, okay? So looking at the play-in right now, okay? We're gonna have the Heat against the Bulls. Okay. Who's winning that game?
I'm not gonna lie, the way Chicago's been playing, I'm gonna give Chicago that one. I think Giddey, I don't know what they've changed, but they've kind of handed Giddey the keys over there to that offense, and Kobe White has been the go-to scoring guard. They've been looking really good.
All right. So let's say it. So the Heat are gone. Now you got the Magic and the Hawks.
I'll go Magic on that one.
All right. So the Magic are in. Magic are the 7 seed. Hawks or Bulls?
I'll go Bulls again.
All right. So the Bulls do it again. Can't get into the fucking lottery.
Yeah.
Are the 8 seed. All right. So you got Cleveland against Chicago. I mean, I think we're going to say Cleveland, no problem.
Yeah, Cleveland's, yeah.
We got Boston against the Magic. I think the Magic will probably win a game.
Yeah, maybe 2, but yeah, Boston should win that series.
Now, call me crazy. I think the Pistons can glove it up against the Knicks.
Oh, yeah. I think that can happen. And honestly, I think I've told you this before, but this is a part of my my theory that, you know, the NBA keeps talking in the last year or so. Oh, who's going to be the next face of the league? Oh, it can't be a guy from one of the European countries. It's got to be an American to be the face of the league. We obviously know Ant Edwards is not going to be the face of the league just with his off-the-court drama. He doesn't want it.
He's at like Tyreek Hill numbers with like
kids, yeah.
He's putting up Tyreek numbers.
Yeah, the first guy I've ever heard that wanted to pay the full child support all up front just so he could stay away from having to raise the kid, which is crazy. But Cade Cunningham in Detroit, kind of, we've seen it already with your Lions. Like, when a Detroit team is good, that's a team America can get behind because it's blue-collar city. If Cade Cunningham is able to make some noise in the playoffs this year and then parlay that into, you know, what I think maybe take a step to where he's top 10 next year in the league and has the Pistons like up in the standings for the East, which I think is possible, I think is going to be one, good for the league, but two, I think you're going to start hearing a lot of people say like, oh, Cade Cunningham might be the face of the NBA because dude was number one coming out of high school. He's from Texas. I've seen him play quite a bit. He ended up going to Montverde his senior year, won the national title there at Montverde. But then he didn't do like a lot of number one recruits. He went to Oklahoma State. You know, Oklahoma State wasn't that great of a team. So some people, like basketball fans, know of him, but most people not turning on an Oklahoma State college basketball game, just the casual viewer. Then obviously he's banged up his first couple years or so with Detroit. Obviously he's had to sit out the whole year with a shin injury. Now he's back on the scene, back healthy. Pistons are in the playoffs. I think Pistons can make some noise. I think they will make some noise. I think this is going to start the discussion next year. So, I mean, I think it's going to be him competing with Boston and Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland is necessarily here to stay. I'm still not completely sold on them. But I think it'll be those three teams competing in the East for the next 2-3 years. And I think Pistons, they add the right pieces around there. They could definitely mess around and break through one of these years because Cade, I think he's that caliber player when he's got the ball in his hands.
And just getting to the playoffs, we've seen these players go in there. Like, look at what Shea did when the first time Shea got in the playoffs, way back when Chris Paul was there. They just elevate the game, more reps. And playoff basketball is just kind of different than normal NBA. It's not a Wednesday in Orlando. Like, locked in, more possessions. It's just going to take his game to a different level. And Beasley made an interesting comment. He talked about how good the facility is in Detroit, how good they're treating him and everything. And if the Pistons start winning, like those fringe guys,
well, they're gonna go to Detroit.
You know what I mean? They're gonna look to go to Detroit. And I think for them to get in there and play a competitive series against the Knicks is going to be just great. Worst case scenario, they lose 4-1, 4-0. They lose 4-2 and it's competitive. Losing game 7, I think it's great. And just getting the reps for Hollins, Cunningham, Duran, Thompson, it's just gonna elevate their game going into next year in a way that a lot of people are going to expect. Now, obviously, injuries can derail that. Magic, you look at them this year, their season completely derailed with the injuries to Wagner and Banchero. If those guys don't get hurt,
I think they're easily top 5 in the East.
They're easily top 5. I mean, they're third. They are 5 games back of the 5-6 spot, and Wagner and Banchero missed a ton.
Yeah. So they were off to a good start too before Paolo went out with the injury, and then I think Wagner ended up with the same injury.
Yeah. So if those guys played, like who knows? So hopefully, they can keep it. And then the other one, you're gonna get a rematch of the Pacers and Bucks. I hate this Pacers team. Like, I cannot stand this Pacers team. I think Halliburton is not that good.
He rubs me the wrong way for some reason. I'm just like, I can't see another Eastern Conference Finals run for the Pacers. I'm praying someone knocks them out.
Now, my question to you is this. With Dame being out with a blood clot, and I know someone would say, oh, he could be back in time. Blood clots are no laughing.
Well, that's no joke. I don't even know how it's even possible for him to be back in time, given that he's got to be on the blood thinning medicine.
This is why Chris Bosh had to retire. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that brings us to another point. What's up with all these guys? Like, this is what Wembanyama has. So, but we're not going to talk about that because God only knows. But anyway, can the Bucks put it together with no Dame? That's my question to you. And if they don't put it together, could we see Giannis finally say, hey, enough is enough. You know what? I won you the title. I want to win. I'm out. Like, just trade me.
Yes, I don't think it's possible. I think if Dame is not playing in the playoffs for the Bucks, and I mean, I guess maybe possibly y'all could switch places with Detroit. I don't think y'all gonna catch Indy, and New York's definitely too far up in standing. So if the matchup is Indiana, yeah, Milwaukee's getting sent home once again by the Indiana Pacers. That
You
team's
think
just
so?
too fast. Yeah,
I think,
I think their pace is just too fast, and they get up
but
too
they
many
didn't have
shots.
Giannis though. They didn't like if Giannis played in that series, the Bucks are winning that series last year.
Yeah, I think so with Dame. Without Dame, though, I think that's just too hard for Giannis. Because I think Giannis will put up a good fight. I think he'll probably take it, 6 or 7 games. But I think it's just going to be too much shooting at the end of the day. And even though that pisses me off to even think about that, but I just think the Pacers will win that one.
You don't think that Kuz is just going to drive Halliburton crazy? Giannis is going to check Siakam. Lopez is just going to be nailing threes over Miles Turner. And Pierce will check who's their off guard. Nemhard. I don't know.
I was gonna say that those are the ones that are gonna piss you off the most. It's gonna be Nimhard,
but
Obi
Portis
Toppin, and Ben
Portis will be
Mathurin.
back too.
Oh, Portis will be back.
Yeah, Portis will be back.
That'll be a big addition. That'll be a big. But is he gonna be rusty? Because that's a lot of time off.
No, he can be with the team. Like he's been practicing with the team. He's just not allowed. So, I don't know, man. Like I think that if I were to grade which team could be quote unquote upset at first, it would be Pacers 1, Knicks 2. You mean that would be the 1-2? I mean, I don't see Cleveland or Boston, losing by any stretch of the means. But I think I could see a world where the Knicks lose or the Pacers lose in the first round.
I can see a world where the Knicks lose for sure. I was gonna say though, I like the point you made when you're talking about the Pistons, because this is the one thing I keep talking about when I talk about my Rockets. Because Cam and Chris get on me, they're like, "Oh, why don't you have any faith in your Rockets?" I'm like, because they've never been in the playoffs. Playoff basketball is just completely different. So like, I hate how people are now saying, because the Rockets are second in the West, probably gonna end up second in the West when it's all said and done. And people are like, "Oh, they can definitely win a series versus the Lakers or versus the Nuggets," like all this stuff. I'm like,
no chance.
There's a team as a bunch of young guys. Like, I'm not even about to get my hopes up. But for one, people will lob those expectations on them, and then when they inevitably fail, they'll be like, "Oh, they're not good." And it's like they're kids that haven't been there before versus veterans who've been doing this their whole careers. The problem has been they haven't been able to make it to this spot in these developing years, so they couldn't get the experience early on. Like Jalen Green has never been the focus of the defense through a playoff series. He doesn't know what that's like.
Yeah.
But whenever we get in the playoffs, the whole scheme is going to be designed to stop Jalen Green. Don't let him get 25 points tonight. And a lot of nights, I'm sure they're going to be successful for that. Sengun, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of teams. Okay, we're going to put Sengun in the pick and roll literally every single possession.
Yeah.
See if he can stop us. Never done it before. As for the Pistons, like you said, Cade was this year 3. He's going to get a chance to be not in the play-in, but in the playoffs. Get a 7-game series versus a quality opponent. I think has a good chance of maybe upsetting them or playing really well, taking it to the brink of elimination. And then they can build on that next year. And that's what scares me, because I'm like, Rockets could go into this playoffs, get bounced in the first round. And then are they going to try to make some stupid win now move where it's like, "Oh, we're going to trade our pieces away for Kevin Durant, who's 35 and can't play a full season?" And it's like, we're not winning a championship right now. Like, that's not what this is. We're supposed to be building towards that. So,
and I really think like you guys did a solid by bringing in Fred VanVleet, who's been there, won a title before. And props to the Pistons. I mean, the trade they made that I thought was a sneaky trade right at the deadline was just bringing in Schroeder. getting that someone who
quality
can,
vet.
and he can be the point. Like Jaden Ivory's not there. He's done. He's out going into next year. He's gone for a while. But you have Schroeder that can come in, play the point, then you allow Cade to play off the ball to close out games. I don't know. I like how this Pistons team is constructed. I'm in the same boat as you. I don't hope they package like Stewart and I don't know whoever off and try to get like some sort of vet. No, keep these guys together. Like let's have Ivy and whatchamacallit, Cunningham, or Wade Cunningham, as Stephen A. Smith called him. See what they could do. Did you see that tweet?
Yeah, I seen it.
Like it's just I regress. I just feel that the playoffs, the NBA right now is in this lull, and when the playoffs start up, we're just going to see some basketball that we have never seen before. We haven't seen this year. But what can they do to get the product what it is during the playoffs? Because the playoffs, everyone's locked in. We're watching, we're talking about it. When it's a random Wednesday, like no one really cares. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's just, I don't know, like, do you decrease the games? Like,
that's what I was gonna say.
And the thing is like with tanking to get these good draft picks, when you look at these players, like, I mean, you look at this draft class, like if you're looking like you're going to be battling for a play-in position, why not tank with the hope of getting Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Edgecombe, Ace Bailey? This is a pretty top-heavy class with those. I just named 4 players who I think have the potential to be all-stars. Why not do that? Because like you don't want to be the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls for how long have just been caught between that 7 and 10 line and just going here. You know what I mean? Like
they're calling the play in the Chicago Bulls Invitational because that's always where they're at the end of the season.
Yeah, you don't want to be stuck there. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just it's just one of those things, man.
And honestly, I think one of my ideas is maybe shorten the schedule a bit, but the first thing on my list to recorrect some of this, make these games better, make them more meaningful, get rid of the play-in. We had that for that year following COVID.
You're not playing?
I don't like, because it's just like, it's just rewarding bad basketball. Like, look at the Eastern Conference standings. Like, there's no reason we should have to have a play-in for 4 teams all under 500. Like, it should just be 1 through 8 and let's play. Because we're going to play this play-in, and then the 7 to 8 seeds are just going to get waxed anyway over there on the Eastern Conference with Boston and Cleveland. So why are we even doing this? And then on the West, it's even worse because it's like you got all these talented teams like Clippers, Memphis. Why do they need to battle Dallas and Sacramento for 2 games to see if they can make the playoffs? They should win those, but say they have an off night, and then we're gonna get a playoff series of maybe OKC versus Dallas or OKC versus Sacramento. I would rather not see that. I'd rather see OKC versus Memphis. I'd rather see Houston versus the Clippers, Harden versus his old team.
Right.
I think we could get rid of it. At least for this year, the way it's played out with the standings and the teams, I feel like there's no need for the play-in this year.
And I think maybe the play-in has kind of led to guys like Butler, like the Heat last year. The Heat, when this started, they're just like, oh, we'll just be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe the play-in has kind of just derailed the regular season more, and people kind of are like, hey, we can just get in there and just get it together, because the Heat have shown us it can be done. Speaking, you spoke about the Western Conference, just kind of looking at it right now. Yeah, I mean, why Dallas plays the Kings? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like really, like, who cares? And then you have the Clippers or the Grizz, and I think call me crazy. I think the Clippers could give. So let's say the Clippers beat the Grizz. Okay. And they're the 7th seed. I think they beat the Rockets in the series, man. If Kawhi,
if Kawhi, I was just gonna say if Kawhi can, God, please let him stay healthy for a whole series. But yeah,
but you know what I mean. Like I think like that. Excuse me. I think I would much rather have the Clippers in there playing and the Grizzlies. But you know, you're totally right on that. Like the Mavericks or the Kings getting in would be just absolutely awful.
That would be one of those series where 95% of the games are all on NBA TV in the middle of the day because no one's gonna really care.
That'd be the NBA TV series. That would be the NBA TV series. All right, so let's go through it. Mavericks Kings. Sorry, Mavericks or Chicago West.
I'll go Sacramento, but I mean, AD looks like he's getting healthier. They could probably pull it off, but then that's just where I view AD at this point. I feel like AD would just mess around and get hurt in the play-in game. Probably start off on fire the first quarter, and then next thing you know, he's out for the whole game, and then Dallas loses.
So AD would get hurt. Could you imagine that if AD got effing hurt in the playoff game?
I'm still baffled. Like I'm not mad at it because again, like we're saying, our main complaint is like, oh, the regular season, like these guys don't treat it like it's a thing. So I'm not mad at it because he's showing he wants to play. But at the same time, given how their seasons went, Kyrie going down with the ACL, I feel like as management and coaching staff, you should have held AD out. Like obviously, we made this trade because you're our future. We cannot risk anything happening to you in a meaningless playoff game or playoff run if you are to win the play-in and make it into the actual playoffs. Like, because they're not going to win at the end of the day.
And then, can I say something? Can Max Christie get some motherfucking minutes?
I think they're going to be kicking themselves for a long time for giving up Quentin Grimes. I don't know why they gave him away.
I love Max Christie, former State guy, but I think he should be playing more. He played what? He's barely playing mid-20s, like 25 minutes since he's got there. He should be playing more. Like, look, I love Clay. I am the biggest Klay Thompson fan. But you know what, Clay? Your time has come, dude. Hang it up, retire, go hang out with your supermodel girlfriend. Give Maxey the thing. So we're saying Kings over Mavericks, right?
Yeah.
Clips against the Grizz.
Clips.
All right. Grizz against the Kings.
Grizz.
Okay, Grizz Thunder.
Oh yeah.
Clips, your Rockets. I'm gonna say the Clips, dude.
Clippers.
Now I'm just going with the current standings. A lot can change. The Lakers against the T-Wolves.
I'd be a good one, but I'm gonna go Lakers. I've seen Luka kill Minnesota by himself. You throw him and LeBron together. Anthony Edwards will put up a great fight, but I think they'll be out of there in 6.
Now the Nuggets against the Warriors.
Give me the Warriors.
Now my follow-up question is: do you feel that the Warriors are a serious playoff contender?
We're waiting for this one.
Since making the move for Jimmy Sinclair Butler.
Yes, I feel like the Warriors are a contender. As I told you off camera, as soon as they made the trade, I put in the Warriors to win the West future ticket. I hate it because as we've been saying, I'm a Rockets fan. I watched them for years keep us from making the NBA Finals year after year during that dynasty run. Then they lost KD, had a couple down years. Steph got hurt. Then 2022, back on the map. Steph carried them to championship. I'm not saying Jimmy is the same caliber of Jimmy we seen a couple years ago where he took that Miami Heat from the play-in to the NBA Finals. But you add him to the mix. Draymond Green, who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year now. He's playing good basketball on the defensive end. Yeah. You still got Steph, who's rejuvenated now. They got enough role players. They can get production from Pods, Moody, Kuminga is off and on, but he can provide some good production when he's on. As long as you got Steph with the team around him that can help support him, they're always gonna have a chance. And
So
honestly, I think the way Denver season has been looking, I think Golden State would have no problems getting rid of them in the first round. And then that means they're gonna be playing OKC. I'll let you have this conversation with Chris one day. Chris to this day says, as an OKC fan, season ticket holder, his number one fear is playing Golden State in the second round because he feels like that's the team that will get them out of there. And he's been actively trying to scheme up what teams need to lose day in and day out this week so he can get the seedings the way he wants. So that doesn't have to be a possibility.
So let me ask you this: do you feel? We all know in playoff basketball, the court shrinks and everything, spacing is at a premium. If guys are going to sag off Draymond, sag off Butler, is that going to hurt it? You know what I mean? Like, the way I look at it is it's going to mess up the floor spacing. Because if Draymond can't make a three, Butler can't make a three, and they're sagging off of them, that's going to hurt the Warriors. And I think that's going to be the limit. That's going to hurt them. And my other thing is, those guys aren't spring chickens. You're a young pup, my friend. I'm an old dog. And like turnarounds are quick, dude. And if they play the OKC, which is going to push the pace, Dort's going to be running at Curry. Draymond's going to be chasing around Jay Will. Do you just feel like Butler's going to be on Shea? When this gets to like game 5, game 6, these guys are just old. Do you think they're just going to be tired? And then there goes the legs and the jump shot. I
think that is a real possibility, and that's what I think would end up happening. But at the same time, I'm fearful that because I feel like Jimmy hasn't even really just been necessarily doing anything crazy. Maybe that is because he's not a spring chicken anymore. But I feel like he's got something reserved to where I'm not saying he's going to be full out, Jimmy playoff mode like we've seen in recent history. But he's going to have something to tank to where he starts playing his best basketball. And all Steph needs is just someone to play good alongside him. And it opens up the game that much more for him. And then like you seen, was it 2 days ago when they played the Lakers, or 3 days ago, pods randomly going off for like 30. It's like when you start adding stuff in, like the guys who shouldn't be doing that, I feel like always with the Warriors, that's what happens in the playoffs. The guys you least expect start doing the most. And then as we say in our group chat, all Curry needs is a lead, and he's the best front runner in league history. If he's up 6-7 in the clutch moments, he's good to knock down a couple dagger threes in your face and go night. And that's what I'm fearful that coming down to, because it's playoff basketball.
I was watching the women's championship game earlier today. I didn't watch the traditional broadcast. I watched the Taurasi and Bird. And when they Suggs was on at second quarter, I believe, and they're talking about Curry, and Taurasi's comment was, "Curry, no player is more underrated in all-time greats than Steph Curry." Do you agree with that? She thinks he should be right up there with literally right up there with, we're talking like LeBron, Michael, Wilt. She's adamant he belongs in that conversation.
I think he's knocking at the door, but he's not in that tier. But we actually had this argument a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I do think he's one of the most underrated, because I feel like, and maybe this is just me being young, maybe you'll disagree with this, I think Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time, just for what he's done for the game of basketball and the way he changed it. And the response back I got from Cam was, he's not a point guard. I'm like, okay, I'm not saying he is, but if you're not going to classify him as a point guard because he's 6'3", as what the books say, then we got to start getting into the territory. He has even more of an argument for the best shooting guard because the fact he's able to do all this as a shorter player in the league, as a shooting guard, like, and his handle, if you're not going to classify him as a point guard, I'm like, that's one of the most talented and greatest shooting guards ever. Like, he might be neck and neck with MJ based on what he can do with the basketball if you're not going to classify him as a point guard. But I think he's right there. Like, that 2022 run solidified it. I just think at the end of the day, because the beginning of his career is a little too injury riddled, and the Warriors weren't that great yet. I don't think he'll ever be able to enter the tier with Bron and Michael just because accolades. But he's definitely there, and if he is able to put together some type of one more title run, whether that be this year or until whenever he hangs up, then yeah, if he gets one more, then I think he does enter that upper echelon with those guys. Because right now I put him a tier below, but I still think he's one of the most underrated guys ever. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but you go watch any youth basketball game today, it's almost frustrating to the point of madness watching kids take 3-on-1 fast breaks and settle for a 3-pointer. And why do they do that? It's because Stephen Curry, and they think, oh, I can do that too. No, you're not Stephen Curry. There's a reason he's that good, and you're not. So I think I agree with that sentiment from Tarasi.
Maybe I'm a homer. But I think the run that Isaiah Thomas had from 86 to 90, when they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 7 to the Celtics, the next year lost Game 7 in the finals to the Lakers, and then won 2 back-to-backs. I mean, that's a pretty good run.
Well, that's
and I think that
run.
Curry is always going to be looked over because of Durant going there.
Yeah. But I'm not going to lie, the longer Durant keeps playing and the way his career is turning out, like this back half, this last decade since he's left, it only helps Curry's argument. But I'm glad you brought up the Isaiah Thomas, because that was one person I brought up too, because I was like, he doesn't get enough credit. And obviously, I'm not trying to call you old or anything here, but obviously, back in the day,
I'm old as shit. I'll be the first.
Back in the day, there was nobody to write that narrative for Isaiah Thomas. There was no social media, so it was you were solely relying on the TV networks, what you read in the newspaper. But I know growing up where you did, Isaiah Thomas was the man. But now in this day and age, it's like the whole story is MJ was untouchable. He's the greatest thing we've ever seen. Greatest thing since sliced bread. No one can beat him. It's like Isaiah Thomas was whooping his ass for years, and made him into the MJ he is. But no one really recollects that history because they were able to rewrite it as just MJ's time. Now in this era with the age of social media, you can make an argument for every player because you've got all the stats, you got all the access to everything, video. You can post anything you want. So you see all these fan pages; they're able to push their narrative onto a wider audience, given the stretch of social media. And it's like, it makes it hard to have these conversations because anybody can, frame any argument for their player. But I was very adamant about that. I was like, Isaiah Thomas did the same thing, and he was an even shorter guard. Like, he was going head to head with Magic, going head to head with Michael, taking them down, back-to-back champion. Hadn't been done since Curry, or hadn't been done until Curry came on the scene for a short guard. And God knows when it'll happen again, if ever again, given the way the league is trending today, where it's all 6'6" plus guards and up. So, I could definitely get behind that.
I think, obviously you got Magic Johnson too. You know what I mean? Magic, on Candy, what he did. I'm playing around with NBA Trade Machine here. So this is what I came up with. 2 first-rounders, both unprotected. Jonathan Isaacs, Cole Anthony, Jet Howard for Ja Morant and Scottie Pippen Jr.
That's a good trade. And honestly, what makes me like the trade is the Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is a great depth guard. I think he's gonna be a 6th man of the year one day in his future. Like, he's that good in my opinion. Out of all the former NBA Suns, I feel like he doesn't get a lot of coverage, but he has a good argument as right now to hold the title as the best NBA dad's kid in the league. Like he's really good.
I got to add $5 more million, so my trade didn't go through.
Oh,
Salaries in that matchup. But
glad I'm not a GM because I can't even put all this stuff together.
or maybe throw in some more second round. I don't know. But back to the other thing. Yeah, I mean, when I went to college, social media was just kind of starting out. So it really wasn't that big of a thing. And there never was the debate about, oh, who's the best ever. You know what I mean? There never really was that debate. That seems to be kind of like a new thing. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. It was an interesting comment from DT. And then we got the Lakers sitting here. Do we trust Luka? Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy.
I'm not gonna lie.
Are we trusting Luka?
I'm gonna trust Luka. I'm the one guy on the pod that will stand 10 toes behind it because the night he was drafted, Cam was like, "Oh, who is this dude? He's a bust." And I was like, "Have you not seen his EuroLeague? Like this kid is really good." And then he's like, "Trae Young is way better." And obviously, so far through their careers, they're still young careers, so there's still more to be played. But Luka has been the better player. And I get the smear campaign that was ran on him last year about, oh, his defense is what cost the Mavericks the title. That's not what cost the Mavericks title. Yes, his defense was piss poor in a lot of situations, but he was the only player on the whole Dallas Mavericks roster to have a positive plus minus throughout that series in Boston. I've seen this man literally since day one put teams on his back. And I hate when, I love James Harden, Houston Rockets fan. Love what he did for us. But I hate the comparisons where it's like, oh, his play style, he's the same as Harden. He'll never win the playoffs. The main problem with Harden was he would put up amazing stats through the regular season. Come playoff time, his stats would diminish and he would shrink. When Luka gets in the playoffs, he only plays better. He's a walking 39-8 any given night in the playoffs. And like I said, we literally.
LeBron. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it will. Honestly, I think the Lakers' success is predicated on how consistent Austin Reeves will be throughout the playoffs. Like if he can't have a D'Angelo Russell type playoff run where it's like, oh, one series he's really, really good, and then the next series he just completely disappeared. They're gonna need him to average 17 to 22 throughout the playoffs. And I think Luka is gonna you kind of see it now with the rotation. Luka is gonna have to start off the game. And if I'm Braun, if I'm JJ, I'm telling Luka, start the game off. You get us going. Go kill everybody. Because in the first quarter, he can be lights out. And those clutch situations, when it comes down to in the fourth quarter, that's when you can start using LeBron a bit more. But I think you want to kind of use LeBron as kind of a defensive anchor since they do have to play relatively small, especially when Jackson Hayes isn't on the court. But I have trust in Luka. I just don't know if the Lakers have enough dogs this year to make real noise and win it. You said what?
What about their depth?
Yeah, that's my issue. Like I could see them winning the West if Luka and LeBron just had like a magical run through the West. But I'm picking Boston to come out the East. I don't see any possible scenario where that Lakers team beats Boston in 7 unless Boston just completely goes cold for a whole series shooting the 3-ball. But there is a scenario where I could see them winning the West because Luka and LeBron are that good. But they do have their worst matchups, and that does worry me a bit. It's just their depth. But I can trust Luka to perform in the playoffs, I think. When his back's up against the wall, I feel like he's done enough to earn that credit and respect given playoffs. We've seen him take down some pretty good teams by himself. I'm not going to pivot now and think, oh, now that LeBron's in the fold, I can't trust him. I think those two will be really good. It might be, just 1 year too soon. Obviously, they just made the trade a couple months ago. Still got a lot to figure out chemistry wise. But I think when it's clicking for them, and if it gets clicking in the playoffs, it's going to be another level of what we've seen with Kyrie and Braun went on that run in 2016. Like it's that level because he's a top 3 player in the league. I mean, Jokic, Giannis, SGA obviously is in that discussion this year. He's been, I think, the best player should win MVP. But if you're just taking 3 top players off the top of your head, Luka has to be at the very least number 3, if not better than maybe Giannis or Jokic, depending on who you ask. So I got trust in him.
Now this whole thing with Bronny, real quick, and then my last thing I'm going to say is this: everyone gave him flack for going 55 to the Lakers. Okay. 21.9 points per game in the G League, dude. I think you've earned. I think we can warrant. Hey, you know what? It wasn't that bad of a draft pick.
Yeah, no.
You know what I
people
mean?
like, the nepotism is like, Bronny was a really good player coming out of high school, and he had, like, I think people just read the ticker that day and saw that he was okay and just bypassed it. But I don't think he suffered from cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
The survival rate after someone suffers cardiac arrest is like under 10%. So for him to even survive, let alone be playing basketball a year later after that occurred, is absolutely crazy.
It's insane.
So I never expected him to be back to what he was right away. But if he would have had a year at USC without that happening, he's going probably top 15, top 20 in the draft at the latest the next year. And for people to be up in arms like, oh, they only took him at the 55th pick because he's LeBron. Who are you drafting at 55th? Once the lottery happens, I'm not going to lie. Who really knows who's getting drafted after that? You know of the top guys. There's a few European guys that are random every year here and there. But other than that, who are you taking that's a bona fide pick at 55? You're just swinging for the fences there and hoping you get a quality depth piece that can be on the roster some point.
It's just idiotic in my eyes. Like, he belongs. That was a fine draft pick. And you know what? And the person I can't stand is Stephen A. Smith and all this. Like,
he better watch. He's about to end up in the same boat as Skip Bayless without a job, because people aren't gonna want to listen to this. Like, the generation below me, they're not wanting to hear this every day on television. Just get up and bash the best players in the league and just make up whatever narrative you want. And then when you're called out on it, you don't want to own up to it. Like, he said some out of pocket stuff about LeBron and Bronny for no reason.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of eating that crow because, like you said, Bronny's averaging 21 in the G League. What was it? A couple weeks ago, had the 39-point game. When the Lakers did, bring him up for a game a couple weeks ago, I forgot versus who. I think, was it versus the Bucks? Was it that game where he got some good playing time and he was a leading scorer that day? Like, he's an NBA player. Like, there's no doubt about it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying he's about to be LeBron. His dad is arguably top 2 greatest of all time. He's not gonna be that. That's very hard to live up to, but he could definitely be a player that lasts in this league for 9 to 10 years, just playing various roles. He can do that. Like, he's that good. He's got athleticism from the LeBron genes. He's a little bit shorter, but he's got a nice shot. He's got defense. He can find playing time on any NBA roster. I never understood why people were so adamant he was trash. I'm like, this is just another avenue for people to hate on LeBron James. Like, that's all it was.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, people are just gonna hate for no reason. But
yeah.
So, in closing, right now, if you had $100 and you could bet it any way you wanted it, like literally, like any way, you could chop it up, do like 10 bets, 4 $25 bets, all in $100. How would you bet?
On who to win the NBA Finals?
On anything for the playoffs. Literally, you could bet on anything. What would, like, right now, with how the seedings line up and everything, what would you do?
So if the playoffs ended today, I would put probably $30 on the Lakers to make the Western Conference Finals. I put another 20 on Golden State to make the NBA Finals, and I put 50 on Boston to repeat. At the end of the day, in a 7-game series, I just don't see Boston losing. And even though the Thunder are having a truly remarkable season and SGA should win MVP, I just think something's going to happen for them not to win the finals this year. I think they're going to come up a bit short, but that's okay. I hope when that happens, I hope they do not panic and then make some trade for like Kevin Durant and get rid of some of the pieces they have. I think they got a great thing building over there. And with all the picks they've accumulated through different trades, they could very well end up in the lottery this year. So I think they'll be okay. But yeah, I think Boston, like I said, I'm still not sold on Cleveland. Obviously, I know Cleveland's had a great year themselves, but I just can't trust Donovan Mitchell-led team in the playoffs. Haven't been able to do it since his Utah Jazz days. And I just think, like you were saying earlier, experience is what trumps all in the playoffs. You have LeBron James, Luka Doncic on one team. Yeah, they don't have the best depth, but at the end of the day, you got those two guys in the playoff setting in a 7-game series. It's going to be hard to bet against them. And you have a rejuvenated Stephen Curry with a team around him that's got depth. And even though they're a little bit on the older side, has other stars around him. I think it just becomes a very tough out in a 7-game series. But OKC definitely has the horses to do it. It's just going to take J-Dub's best basketball he's ever played in his life. Because I'm not worried about SGA is going to get his 30. But someone else is going to have to consistently show up. It could be Chet too. Chet is pretty good. But again, Chet, that's why I think last year OKC got great experience making it to the second round of the playoffs. Getting, they put up a great fight, but they lost to the Mavericks close. I think that'll provide a lot of dividends for them this year. But I just think the West is just too much of a gauntlet. And the way this could shape up for them, it could be very hard for them to make it all the way to the finals. So that's how I broke 100.
My 4 $25 bets. Okay. 25 on Jason Tatum plus 290 to win most standing. To win MVP of the finals or whatever. Clippers 55-1 to win it all. James 44-1 to win MVP, and the Bucks 200-1 to win it all.
I would love it as a Houston Rockets fan to see James finally get that monkey off his back. But as a Houston Rockets fan, I'm just like I just can't even bring myself to see it. Somehow, some way, they'll find a way to lose. And I tried my hardest to defend him for all those years in Houston, and he just let me down time and time again. And then, obviously, I just want to see Kawhi Leonard make it through a playoff series at this point. And it seems like every year for the last 3 years, they'll play game 1. Game 2, he'll be on the injury report for knee inflammation. And then next thing you know, he's out the rest of the series. It's like, come on. Please, just help your team out, Kawhi. So, but I like the Jason Tatum one. Like I said, I think the Celtics, I don't think there's any stopping them for real. I think I think that'll be it. But yeah, I like your bets, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll try to have you on, a couple times throughout the playoffs. Hopefully, if you got time, I can come join your pod, talk it up, basketball during playoff time. But I appreciate you for chopping up on the NBA headlines. I haven't been on podcasts in about a month or so this was good. Good to discuss some things, have some things on my mind, like discussion about the table. And as always, appreciate you having on, Erik.
Hey, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you. And, we'll be back next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if y'all don't already, y'all can find him at ETOF21 Sports. Make sure to go give him a follow. Has great content, great bets, always winning, giving you guys winning slips, winning plays. So once again, appreciate you hopping on, Erik. I Need a Sports Podcast. Sign off. Bryce, my guy, Erik. We'll see y'all later, man. Peace. I need it.